Jacking cars never changes. sorry. I'm sorry. Jacking cars never changes, or it kind of does actually. Grand Theft Auto 4's release way back in 2008 struck before there was really any big juggernauts in the open world crime genre in the new generation. Saints Row hadn't really come into its own yet, and Sleeping Dogs wasn't even Sleeping Dogs at that point. But we're looking at this generation's sunset, and much has evolved in the way of the open world genre in ways that Rockstar isn't used to seeing. They've had actual competition at this point, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is more than enough of a game to stand up to the ever-growing list of threats. Like a king looking down upon his people, GTA 5 has accepted this challenge, blowing out the doors in terms of sheer scope and budget. This is the open world game in many respects, but is the king even the king anymore after all these years? I guess we're about to find out in this review of Grand Theft Auto 5 for the PS3 and Xbox 360.
I want him to be just like you.
Knock, nigga.
The beautiful Los Santos houses more superficial, plastic, self-obsessed people than most parts of the world combined, but it specifically houses 3 goons that center around GTA 5's plot. Michael is the family man, surviving his midlife crisis one day at a time while dealing with his domestic issues within his gigantic, sorrow-filled mansion. Franklin is the hood dweller that's more focused on getting out of the ghetto and actually making something of his life, despite the hood's continual pull. Trevor is, well, a complete psychopath. Nothing can really consistently speak to Trevor's motivations. Unique motivations and personalities showcase the different lives of San Andreas and give views on a few of the different demographics in the state. Yes, a complete state, with numbers that Rockstar has posted merely for bragging rights. San Andreas is a massive chunk of land filled with just about every sort of geography from top to bottom. It's visually stunning and yields a wealth of different locales, but it serves a better purpose when juxtaposed against the atmosphere at large. San Andreas feels like a living place, one that transcends a typical video game city that usually has NPCs strolling about like they have nothing to do. Random event and ambient chatter fill out the world and give it a sense of place, and in turn makes the world way more absorbing. This absorbing allure gives the universe more context along with injecting a little bit more meaning into the mission. It's a pleasant, vicious cycle that I want to see in more open world games. This cycle gradually builds up with Michael and Franklin, eventually throwing Trevor into the mix.
I missed you. You used to be fatter. Nice new tits, by the way.
In typical GTA fashion, the criminal lifestyle ends up paying dividends, and before you know it, gasp! They're far too in the shitstorm to escape unscathed. Grand Theft Auto 5 likens itself to more of a season of television over a movie. Instead of one huge overarching narrative that encompasses the whole plot, missions feel like episodes that introduce a problem and solve them within the hour. From the moment-to-moment action, it makes sense since it's carried on by the on-point writing at every instance. However, this structure isn't without its flaws. Mission in and mission out, I almost had to ask myself the same question that was in the back of my mind. What's the overall point of this? Other than let's get some cash, bro, it was hard for me to gather the cohesive reasons that tied every mission together. Let's Get Rich doesn't really have the metaphorical hamstrings to carry the weight of the entire game, even if some of the interesting secondary plot threads poke their head out from time to time. It's like Rockstar wanted to tie these different characters together but couldn't figure out a common trait other than the unconditional love of crime and money. But no matter the mission, the writing is always spot on. Whether it's on a billboard, radio ad, civilian chatter, or just general dialogue, Rockstar's undeniable love for satire and wit smoothly pokes through at every instance. Targeting American culture isn't exactly new ground for Rockstar, but even if a joke is semi-recycled, I still find myself hysterical in multiple situations.
I said that's enough! Hey, I got security!
The interesting writing carries over to the protagonist. Of course, protagonist is kind of a loose term since they are all despicable people in and out, but like most anti-heroes, they're entertaining to watch and fill that stereotypical role of GTA rampaging murderer quite well since there's less of a narrative disconnect. That dissonance isn't quite prevalent here. Less so Franklin, but Trevor and Michael are kind of insane, making the violence and shooting a little bit more believable. This more believable shooting, while mechanically refined from GTA 4, hits a weird halfway mark in quality that doesn't feel quite as good as you would expect. Keeping the default auto lock turned on makes the gunplay feel far too automatic. You hit the aim button, you fire twice, press the aim button again, and repeat. On this setting, the shooting nearly controls itself and doesn't really feel like you're playing a game at that point. Switching to free aim solves a few of the issues but cobbles up a few more. Choosing targets is now a more manual task, but it feels significantly more sluggish than other games. The camera zooms in at a slower than normal pace, just like the semi-sluggish cover sliding animation. But the actual bane of this targeting mode is the weird disconnect between where the crosshair is and where it should be. Naturally, most people would assume the crosshair would sit in the center of the screen. It's what we've been trained to look for in all these years. However, when you hit the aim button, the reticle lifts 2 feet above where you think it should be. Lining up shots takes an extra few seconds, and given the fragility of all the characters, can lead to many swift game overs that are always pretty frustrating. Firefights usually hit their stride when multiple characters are available to freely switch to. In some missions, any combo of Trevor, Michael, and Franklin can be jumped to, mostly at will. Not only does this freshen the battle situations up, but it allows you to utilize each man's special moves. Switching during combat is novel during firefights, but more practical in the open world. Each character has something different to do, whether it's a specific side mission or buying more properties. As if it was any surprise, GTA 5's open world is filled to the brim with almost an intimidating large amount of stuff just to do.
Hey! You see my face, amigo? Re-fucking-member it, I'm your goddamn boss!
Hilarious side missions pepper the entire map, which are usually laser focused on satirizing American culture, and are usually pretty fun to boot. No one aspect tops dedicated games to that genre, but the sheer breadth and offerings makes GTA worth praising. While unstructured meandering may pass the time for some, the actual missions will be worthwhile for almost everyone. As a culture, we're kind of over the drive here, shoot these guys, and drive back style of missions that are still being practiced in some open world games now. GTA 5 lifts mechanics that it already has, and inserts them into missions that actually have you doing some sort of ridiculous feats. Heists usually exemplify this, since stacking that paper is a core theme of the game. Robbing big establishments is the go-to way to roll in more green. After some initial casing and probing, you'll be given 2 options to tackle the situation. Go in like Rambo, or go in like Ocean's 11. You'll set up the gig you choose, which leads to a different endeavor depending on your choice. Setting up may sound like busy work, and it kind of is, but these grand missions at their best emulate the infamous 3-leaf Clover Bank heist from Grand Theft Auto 4.
Huh? Oh man, we're back in action.
Even though these missions require somewhat of a choose-your-own approach setup, there's really some sort of irony surrounding the entire game. The open world inspires player choice. You do what you want, when you want. No one's gonna really tell you what to do. During missions, these restrictive chains come out and shackle the player. Missions almost always devolve into running from beacon to beacon and strictly following that path. If you don't, you fail the mission. It comes at such odds with the free roam mentality, something I hope to see fixed soon. It'd be a huge step forward for the genre, and if anyone can pull it off, it's definitely the Rockstar people. Although Rockstar hasn't even picked up on the smaller innovations that other series have made in the time since GTA 4. Saints Row, Sleeping Dogs, and even games like Infamous and Prototype have all pushed the open world genre forward in small but noteworthy ways. These titles might not have the gargantuan scope and production values of a GTA game, but they've made small pushes forward. Ones that Rockstar maybe should have looked at before making GTA 5. Marking destinations on the minimap is excruciatingly slow when compared to Sleeping Dogs' one-click-away approach. Lacking in-world driving arrows makes sitting behind the wheel and getting to your destination more of a mini-map staring contest at times. It feels as though Rockstar was told other open-world games exist, but they didn't actually get to play them.
Go away.
Shit.
Fuck you! What the fuck?
Disrespectful little asshole!
I can't believe you did that! That's my TV!
You don't talk to me like that!
Grand Theft Auto 5 actually looks pretty fantastic. A stunning amount of detail has been poured over the entire game, from the highest mountaintops to the lowest ocean floors to the deep ghetto recesses of Los Santos. The impressive visual fidelity stretches to the people and environments, since very few aspects look cheap or flimsy. Animation is also stunning, especially since the Euphoria engine yields such realistic and hilarious human reactions. A pretty consistent frame rate, low amount of pop-in, and seamless transition from cutscene to gameplay, one I cannot stress enough how awesome that is, hold up the technical side of things phenomenally well, even considering the old hardware. The visuals along with the entire game feed off the soundtrack, one that is almost a unanimous win. No matter your taste, you'll have at least a few stations that tickle your eardrum in a special way. A special that few other games capture. Original composition is also solid, perfectly hitting the mood exerted by the on-screen action.
Dad, you dumbass! These guys are serious!
Yeah, well, so am I!
I'm not exactly a doctor, but Grand Theft Auto 5 is absolutely humongous, almost intimidatingly so. The sheer attention to detail spread over this great satirical canvas never ceases to amaze, and knowing that I'll never witness a large chunk of the content is oddly seductive. GTA 5 is, in essence, the ultimate open world game due to the grand scale. This doesn't excuse some of the plot and gameplay inconsistencies though, something the franchise needs to learn from other series. Rockstar isn't known from taking from others, for better or for worse. It's mostly the better part this time though. Grand Theft Auto 5 gets an 8 out of 10. I really liked it, had a great time with it. Thanks for the support guys, and I'll see you later. Goodbye.
Deal. Changing frequency. Over.